The day is 4/22/2022. The time is 21:53. My name is Vigil. This is my video log stream journal. Vigils mirror is what I call it. Anyways, today I will be talking about Program Alice, or ALIS. It's Latin for wings. The objective of the program is to create meta elites, and so this is the synopsis I just wrote out. Synopsis. The goal is to take any person or a person who is at rock bottom, completely out of shape, with limited or no real education in any field, and who is ethically corrupted without any willpower, who has degraded and disintegrated to the point of being a monster, and train them into a superhuman metahuman with a self-reinforcing and guided training program. The training program will use modern psychology mechanisms, physical fitness routines, and self-guided autodidact methods to turn a person who has no future or hope into a metahuman, with the training program never ending, creating an endless upward trajectory resulting in a superhuman or metahuman who is capable of accomplishing anything. The program will incorporate mind, body, and spirit development programs that operate dynamically, modulating to act as scaffolding for the individual within the training program. It will use the scaffolding to create increasingly difficult challenges that can be overcome by the individual as they start, and continue their training, with the program being self-reinforcing for the effect of sustained development of the individual. Mind will be trained in Knowledge Core, aka KC, and Spectra, or Specialized Training, which will have both skills and ability training that coincides with the development of a knowledge base that is growing, combined with training the rationalizing ability. It will start at any level from K-12 or college undergraduate, and above this level of education continuing indefinitely. Body will be trained in endurance, mobility, agility, strength, coordination, and ability for effect of creating a high-performance athlete, starting at a paralyzed or wounded level with physical therapy onto the level of Olympic athletes. Spirit in these writings refers to character, attitude, initiative, willpower, self-control, ethos and ethics, motivation, self-talk, distress tolerance, self-soothing, and mental health. The starting point is a degraded, disintegrated criminal who's completely insane, without ethics, who is antisocial or asocial, with zero motivation and addicted to substances, or is otherwise completely without self-control and free will, and move them to a level that makes them fit for the leadership of the entire aristocracy of ability community based upon their competence, abilities, and character. This program is designed for the worst of the worst, taking them and turning them into the best of the best, using flexible, dynamic, and modulating techniques and tactics, with the overall strategy of creating a superhuman or metahuman within their natural lifespan. There is no end date to this training program, and once you enter into it, the ideal is that you would train in it for the rest of your life, moving through levels in a constant upward trajectory, while forming communities around the others who are training in the same but individualized program, with councils and offices being created as the community of individuals starts to train with one another in mutualism, symbiotic relationships. A community with a healthy culture and climate, with leaderships rising from among the community to become the guides and teachers for the others based upon ability and character, is a component of the training program alongside the individual training programs. Those trained individuals will be the meta-elites of our civilizations, who are self-tasking, self-training, and able to accomplish anything that they determine needs to be done, taking the initiative within an ethical framework, gathering the resources, and organizing both self-training and any skill or ability required in training programs that they design for themselves and the community. That's all I wrote for the day. But so essentially, if you look at science fiction, there's Ender's Game, Halo Fall of Reach, Gundam Wing. That's really what it's what gave me the idea for this program, but I've had it rattling in my head now for about a decade. I've decided to be the first one, or the first initiate, and we refer to the various people training in it as stars. There's some symbolism behind it, but you get a name when you enter into it. Mine will be Prima Rosa, or the first rose, which also stands for the first initiate. And I'm going to try to blaze a path for everyone else to follow. You know, like, I'm decently intelligent, I guess. I'm out of shape pretty bad physically. I don't have a lot of education, and my spirit is not broken, but it is tested and it's weak right now. My ethics have become post-conventional, but not in the way you would think. I am not amoral, but I definitely believe in gray reality rather than black and white. So anyways, I've decided to start this training program. I'm building it right now, theorizing it and stuff, and I will be continuing to build and theorize it for the first few years to decades that I'm in it. But I don't know, I'm excited for it. I genuinely am excited to begin working out a whole bunch in a graded fashion. I'm looking forward to reading and writing and creating and meditating and yoga and just intellectual debates, community organizing, just all these various topics and things that I think would be a lot of fun to really get into rather than just kind of waste my life away watching TV, which I've done a lot of in my life. Once I get done with the scripts, it's often hard to continue talking because I feel on the spot, which makes my mind shut down, or I just get rid of repression and I can't think of anything to say. But if you're interested in any of this, let me know, both directly and indirectly. I think that human potential is limitless, but we have these conditioned responses. Like, there's a story I've told before, but the 4-minute mile. In the 1910s or the early 20th century, no one thought you could run a mile in 4 minutes. They just thought it was like physically impossible. And then this dude did it, and then after he did it, several other people did it. And now it's actually, I think it's pretty common for high-end athletes to run faster than 4 minutes in a mile. But the way he did it was his trainer kept lying to him about how long it took him to run a mile. He kept telling him, dude, you're at 5 minutes, you're going slow. So the dude just kept pushing harder and harder, thinking he wasn't going as fast as he was. And then when he broke the 4-minute mile, he was told about it, and it was like a motivational, almost like placebo effect. And so I think that we have these cultural, sociological, superego, and ego conditioning parameters on us that says you can only endure so much pain. You can only push yourself so hard. You can only learn so much. You're not that smart. You're not that funny. You're not that good looking. And as I say this, I'm looking at myself in a camera, so that was... Anyways, if you can learn how to break through the parameters and push yourself harder than you thought you could go, it'll open up a world to you that was infeasible before. Like, when you realize that nothing is impossible, and to fight till the bitter end, till you literally just don't exist anymore, then you'll be better off. Never accept defeat, ever. But don't choose to do something unethical and take shortcuts. What I've learned is that in my games, you get obliterated emotionally when you start to lose. It creates a self-fulfilling prophecy as you degrade and disintegrate. And you start thinking I could just do this unethical action and it'd be victorious. You have to learn how to sit and tolerate failure. You have to learn to sit and tolerate pending and impending defeat without losing your ethics and without losing the motivation to fight, breaking past any parameter to the very bitter end. And the fight literally never ends until you are no longer sentient and self-aware. That's when it's over. When you don't exist anymore, and you can make plans to have the fight and the game or whatever it is that you're trying to do continue even after you cease to exist. Contingency plans that activate after your death, sort of things. You literally should never quit. Like, never give in to the belief that, like, if you're going to lose, it's not over until you cease existing. Like, it's literally never over until you aren't sentient, conscious, self-aware, and when you learn this, like, when you learn that there is one no end game, like there's no end state that defeats you until you cease to exist. Like, good example is the devil in Revelations. He riles up the world, gets everyone against God. They think they're going to fight God. God blows them away at the last moment. The devil's thrown into the pit of the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. And then, so the question I have is he flapping his wings to stay near the top? Does he fall? Does he just kind of relax and enjoy the blissful fall to the never-ending bottomless pit? And then when it's opened, and then in 1,000 years they open it and let him out for some reason, I don't know, but he comes out of it. So is he hovering there for 1,000 years and then comes out right away, or is he blissfully falling and then as soon as it's open, shoot back up? Like, that's a question. I think both of them have a lot of implications. Anyways, after the 1,000 years, he just starts all over again. Like, he fucking just, he riles up all of creation to fight the end war. So, like, if you read Revelations, there's the end of creation, there's the end of earth, essentially, where Christ comes back, destroys everyone, throws a bunch of people in hell, heals the nations or whatever from their wounds of all the horrible shit that the witnesses do to earth and that the Antichrist does to earth. Like, everyone hates earth and the people on it in the Revelations. Like, the two witnesses are terrorists. Like, that's how the U.S. would define them. They call down endless plagues, they call down endless strife. Anything they ask for is done. Like, any plague or anything, because they're trying to get people to repent, which is kind of cruel and stupid. But while this is happening, the Antichrist and shit is torturing people and forcing them into compliance while destroying the earth too. And anyways, like, the Antichrist rallies up an army outside of Israel or whatever. Armageddon happens. Earth is obliterated from plagues and nuclear war and shit. And then Jesus comes back and it rules for 1,000 years in the book of Revelations. But that during that 1,000 years, the devil is thrown into the bottomless pit, and then he comes out of it in 1,000 years, and he starts the real end time war, where it's like they say the soldiers or whatever will number more than the grains of the sand on all the beaches, and like, but he never fucking gives up. Like, he literally does not cease his rebellion ever. Like, and that's how you have to approach life. You have to approach it with this belief that, like, until you are no longer able to to be aware that you exist, the fight has to continue. Even if it means active resistance, like, by simply, and like, when you break, and you will break at times, you stress positions. 4 years in a stress position with an electrode in my head or whatever. Delusional reality, maybe. But, like, when you break and you learn from it and you strengthen from it, like, Streetlight Manifesto has lyrics, every broken bone was meant to be, it will be stronger than it was before when it heals. That's how you have to approach life, man. Like whether you lost an arm or whatever, or you were paralyzed and you have to do physical therapy and shit, like, you have to adapt, change strategy, learn new tactics, and continue changing the end state maybe as things modulate. Bigotry is a slur in our nation or whatever, our culture, but it simply means someone who won't change their mind. That can be good and bad. So, the training program. I have like epilepsy fits or something. I don't know. I lose my train of thought. The training program is about taking people who are at the lowest level of existence that man can have. Like criminal, junkie, just not out of shape, idiotic jerks, and like planting a seed in them that grows root, that they water, that gnaws at them until it pushes them into this upward trajectory that they can't escape because it's self-reinforcing. That eventually they burst out of, like a flower, out of its bud, um, into a meta elite or a meta human, and then it just keeps continue going from there, and they seed other people. Like you can't force someone into the program, but you sure as hell can plant a seed, one that like they push aside, that gnaws at them from their subconscious, then breaks through, and then you can water it by providing them what they need within a scaffolding environment that eventually like self-reinforces, and then eventually cracks open, and they find themselves in this new reality that existed before but was only a result of this single word you said to them. Like it makes me think of Brave New World, where one of the directors for their society, tells the children a single line or whatever, and then in his inner narration he says suffer, in the sense of like he just planted. So they say intellectual capacity is just like a genetic algorithm training a neural network up a hill, like, and a parasitic function which makes the weight heavier, makes it harder to get up the hill, like the weights on the back of a runner, strengthen and create a better fitness function optimization of like the genetic algorithm or whatever, which essentially means stronger algorithms, more efficient and shit. But they say that like a level of stress in modern psychological theories, there's a level of stress that when you have it, actually enhances your training and enhances your ability over time. And so if you can plant a seed in yourself that simply makes you uncomfortable with this complacency, plateauing, or being degraded at the bottom, like if you can be planted with the seed that makes you suffer just right, that makes you hate your existence in the sense of like you need change, even though every part of you says that you can't, and then you're provided like simply a couple of mental tools to begin the ascent or begin a self-reinforcing habit that is pushed into its motion and develops inertia that eventually becomes like an endless drive or whatever. Like that's how you can turn things around, like for anyone. Like, and it's when you realize that your parameters are just cultural conditionings, like the 4-minute mile, that you can learn anything you want to. Like if you want to learn a subject and you read the book and you think, wow, this is too hard, read the book 99 more times. Just read it until you have it memorized, and then it'll click and it'll make sense. Any subject, any person, anyone can learn it. Learn anything. Like, it's neural networks. That's just how they work. Physically, you hit a level of exhaustion that just says, I can't do it, and self-talk stops you. Like, or like pain. When we're little, we're taught that we can't endure a certain amount of pain. It's a safety mechanism. It's like, it's data. So like all pain is, like Toole says, it's an illusion. Like, it's patterns of electrical signaling that is encapsulated in this preconditioned bias to fear and avoid it and hate it, and like it's unpleasant. But like the Buddhist self-immolation, like a dude just sitting cross-legged on fire, not moving, because he's meditated to the point that he has transcended this construct in our mind. Like it's when you can get past and break all the parameters in your mind that are limiting you, with the belief that it's never over until you're literally non-existent, and the understanding of how you work, like how you develop muscles and how you develop intelligence and how you develop willpower, and you apply it using doing it smarter, not harder. Like learning not to cut corners, but learning how to be more efficient, learning all of this stuff. Well, you recondition yourself because you have a level of stress that makes it harder to sit in this complacent plateau or rock bottom state, combined with the tools that you need to know in order to begin the process. Like anyone can be a meta elite. It takes various amounts of time for each person based upon their level, the speed of their going, the problems they run into, but anything can be overcome essentially. And like this is the A-list program, and it's supposed to be for anyone and everyone, and it's self-directed, it's self-guided, but community should form around each other, not dependent upon one another, but an independence that has a community interdependence, which allows like mutualism and symbiotic relationships to form, and the aristocracy of ability should arise from this. If you want to conquer the world, you can. Like there is literally no reason you can't. You just simply have to put in the effort in the correct way, and there's some chance involved, but like it's like when you're fighting a war. If someone attacks you, you don't try to figure out why they're attacking you before you fight back. You fight back, you win, and then you figure out why they're attacking you and you address it later. Or like if you don't know why you should fight, like what do I have to live for? Well, if you get halfway through the fight and you seem to be unable to win now, and then you think, well, I should have fought because I want this, I want to live for this. It could be too late, in the sense that there's a low probability of you winning and you going into non-existence, because defeat is a reality. But you fight as soon as you can, ethically, with everything you have until you're non-existent, for the purpose that you may not know of until after the fight. And it's like that in all things, like, oh, I don't want to read that book, what will I ever use it for? If you don't study mathematics in school because you think it's useless, and then later you want to get into a career that requires mathematics, you shot yourself in the foot, essentially. And you gave yourself a handicap because you didn't comprehend that in the future things change. Impermanence, everything is, you can't step in the same river twice. Like the water's moving and shit, it's eroding and changing. But there was something I wanted to say about that. There is no parameter that cannot be broken. You can literally walk till you die. But most people walk a couple of miles and they say, "Oh, I'm exhausted." You can walk 20 more miles. Like, you physically can do it. You can walk until your muscles fail, and like you can learn anything. You just have to reread it like kids do. Like if you want to learn anything, just read the book 100 times. If that doesn't work, read it 1,000 times, and it'll click. Like, there'll just be an epiphany, and you'll comprehend it. I guess those are the three tenets that I would use to start off as for the A-list program. There's something I wanted to say, but I segued, forgot the tangent was what the tangent was starting from. So I reiterate a lot because I'm just kind of thinking aloud. It's not over until you literally don't exist. The future will have, like, if you train for the future, for an opportunity that you can't see coming, not only does the training create the opportunities, it allows you to win when you come to them. So train everything that you can when you can, prioritizing but learning cross disciplines and shit. So it's not over until you're non-sentient. Parameters are just safety mechanisms that our brain created to keep us from getting killed. They need to be broken and just destroyed, and then using intelligent analyzing and stuff like that to determine when to be safe and when not to be safe. And then shit, I lose my train of thought. You can accomplish anything. You can start at any time. Start now though. Like begin now what you were wanting to put off until tomorrow. You know? But so the training program has a full I call it the apotheosis, or the quintessential example or deification of humanity or the metahuman. So your body is in you can develop willpower by training your body, and it helps heal your brain, and it allows you cybernetic functions. The executive functions they work better when you are physically training your body and mind. And you can go from a paraplegic who's doing physical therapy to an Olympic athlete. Like, it's doable. Like, you know, provided there's not some biological mechanism in the way, but that can probably be surmounted with technology. Train your mind in knowledge core, or just general basics, along with specialized training, or spectra. And your spirit, which is like your willpower, your cybernetic functioning, your ethics, your belief system, your morality, your what you believe to be good and bad. Train it, refine it. This falls into my religion, and like it's a little less to do with the A-list program, but love, liberty, and reason of sentient free will. That's all humanity strives for. That's all our ideals. You know, like it's okay. I think that's enough for the night. Anyways, so that's the program I'm starting. I'll be starting it very soon. Right now I'm just kind of pilot programming aspects of it. But the only thing holding you back is the belief that is a belief, and it's a falsehood. Like, you are literally capable of anything.